how much you owe.
Handwritten note.
Sure.
Or physically.
Energy.
That creates the lid in everybody's
So if you and
trust.
I disagree on something, then you must be erased and banished from
In Florida, like 500 is like a mansion, yeah.
Today we have Laurie Weston Davis, and I am so excited to have her here. There's so many amazing women in real estate, but Laurie definitely is on the top of that list. Laurie, thank you so much for being here.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, so I was reading your bio. I've heard you speak before, and it's such an honor to have you here. But tell me, let's go back to day one. Day one, when you got your real estate license, what was that like? What were you feeling? And what direction did you take when you first got that license?
Actually, it's funny. I look back now and I realized I had no idea what I was getting myself into. I was looking for, what I was going to do with the rest of my life after my kids grew up, and my mom days were kind of coming. I won't say to an end because they never come to an end, but what I was going to do with myself. And so, I kind of looked around and thought, that real estate seems like it's interesting, and so I talked to my real estate agent and said, I'm thinking about, doing this. What do you think? And he said, get your license and, come work with me. And he was with a local kind of mom and pop agency there in town. And he had his own little team, kind of before teams were cool. And so I was like, okay. So I got my license, and when I first started, I ended up sitting on site a little bit. He had a developer that he was, working on several different projects that they had. And so he had a place where I could sit on site and people would come to me. So I kind of got an easy introduction, I feel like, into real estate. People were coming to me. I wasn't having to go out and beat the bushes. So I got to learn, the transaction and how, to do it all.
Sure.
From that perspective for the first about year and a half. So.
Do you think that was because you were with a team, or do you think that was because you were with a mom and pop company?
I think it was really the opportunity of being able to be able to sit on the site for a developer.
Sure.
Team structures can be very widely different and how it all works. There are obviously being new in the business and being on a team can be helpful too. But it was nice back then to be able to have other agents that were on that team with me that could help me and teach me things as a new agent. So that was good.
So going into the whole kind of company structure and big company, small company, you're with Better Homes and Gardens now.
Yes.
You were with Keller Williams at some point as well. So what would you say, sometimes people go small company to big company to small company. You went from big company to big company. So what was your thought process behind that, and why did you make that transition from big to big?
Yeah. So I've kind of had a checkered past in the real estate industry. I started small, went big, kind of went back to independent, and then became Better Homes and Gardens. And the reasoning was kind of interesting. Part of it was just serendipity. I was with kind of the local company and ended up taking a little bit of time off. And when I came back, there was another company in town with a bunch of agents that I knew that I thought, I'd love to be able to work with them. And so I made that transition over. And at the time, that was they were developing and going to become Keller Williams, and I really had no idea. And I didn't know what Keller Williams was. It was brand new to, our market and pretty much, to the area of North Carolina at the time. So, that didn't mean anything to me at the time.
Right.
But it was just really the people I was going to work with.
That's interesting because I feel like in today's real estate industry, obviously it's always competitive and competition is great, but to walk into an office where you don't have daggers, I know firsthand that it sounds like, so it's the company culture that was really important.
Yeah,
which is interesting.
Yeah, definitely. At that time, I knew I was going to work with people that I liked.
Yeah.
And so then, then the franchise happened and we became Keller Williams a few months after I joined. And, I spent my first year kind of just doing the same things I had always done. And then I started attending some of the Keller events, going to family reunion and mega camp and all of those things. And, Keller Williams was, a tremendous starting point for me. I mean, they helped me in ways, that I will never be able to repay them for. They, the folks at home in the office there, as well as, a lot of the other market centers across, the country, I had tremendous opportunity and learned a lot.
What would you say for a new agent or even an experienced agent that's been in business or just starting business? They go into a real estate office. What questions should they ask that office when they're interviewing different offices?
Yeah. It's funny because most of them don't even realize that they're interviewing.
Right. I know.
They think they're being interviewed, but yeah, there are important questions. I think you need to ask a broker. How are they going to support you?
Right.
What are they going to give you? What is their their value proposition to you as an agent?
Right.
Because truly, as a new agent, you need a lot of help.
Right.
You don't know what kind of help you even need. So I think we just actually hired a couple of new agents to our office, and we really hadn't done that in the past. We're a small office, and so we have 2 brand new agents coming on board. And, we had to set up a whole new way of handling that.
Yep.
We're having specific classes for them just to teach them the real basics. And you forget after you've been in the business for a few years, there's so much to know.
Yeah.
And even the simplest little things they have no idea about.
Right.
So we're kind of going back to agent zero. How do we start and bring them up to speed? But
what about the experienced agent? So what do you go through to continue to learn?
Well, for me, I mean, it's constant learning. I mean, I go to a lot of events. I'm always trying to find new things, talking to different people, and I'm very lucky because I have opportunities to meet different people from all over the country, teaching and speaking at different places and events, and so I just feel like you just have to constantly be trying to learn new things, being open to learning new things. And that's really one of the things I've found, with teaching agents is you have to be open to it.
Yeah.
Technology was kind of my thing early on, even though I wasn't really all that techie. I was just techier than the next guy. But I was teaching kind of the basic technology of real estate to agents. And so many agents who'd been in the business for a long time they didn't want to learn it. It's like, I've been doing it this way forever. It works fine. And, it's like, well, things are changing.
Yep.
And, 5-6 years ago, they didn't quite see it. And I was really kind of beating my head against the wall a lot about, you really need to be doing this. Because 5 years from now, if you're not using these tools, your business is going to maybe go away.
Sure.
So now I think a lot of them, it's funny to me sometimes because I see some of the ones who were not too excited about all of it or have finally jumped on board and are doing some of the things I was trying to get them to do a long time ago. But, and I want to say I told you so, but I don't.
So going to technology, what would you say, what's your favorite social media platform?
Wow.
And how do you use it to get business? Because there's plenty of ways to get followers.
Sure.
But how do you actually translate that into business?
Yeah. I started in social media. Facebook was my first love in social media. And that was back in the day when it looked nothing like it does now.
Right.
It was pretty simple back then. And it's grown so much. And so it's kind of been exciting to me to be able to learn as it's grown along with it. And I think that's probably my favorite social media space and I have so many friends that I interact with there. I call them friends. Some of them I actually know, some of them I don't.
Right.
But just lots of people that I've made connections with. And honestly, when I first started on Facebook, I was using it more as my kind of my whole referral network. I have a lot of, it's just agent friends. It's not, my family's there, but they're kind of in their own little group over here.
Sure.
And when I post things, I use my lists, and I don't post all the real estate stuff to my family all the time because they would hate me. So they'd be sick of seeing me because they don't have that many friends. And so it would be me every single day,
Yeah.
talking about real estate stuff.
I mean,
and
that's not that bad though. Just seeing you all the
yeah,
time.
they would hide me. But, so yeah, I mean, it's mostly, that's kind of my referral network in my personal timeline. But then I also use some pages. I have several different business pages. I have the Geeky Girls page that we started building years ago. And then we have a page for our company that we use as well. So we use Facebook advertising,
Okay.
I think pretty effectively. So we use it to generate business in many different ways.
What do you have kind of a science? So a certain time that you post, certain images that you post, certain, dollar amounts. Like let's say, if you're going to post at these times and say I have $100 that I want to spend, how would you say to best use that $100 for Facebook advertising?
It's a good question. I think because it can vary. For everybody's audience, it's all about who your audience is, and everybody's audience is going to be different. But I think that's the key to start with, is when you're going to start a page for whatever it is, we'll call it a business page, you have to know who that audience that you're going to be talking to is. That's
Right.
your target. So you have to figure out what's going to work with them. And so when you listen to experts tell you, well, you need to post at 2:00 on
Right.
Thursday to get the most engagement. Well, maybe, but I think you need to test
Right.
a little bit with your audience and post a few things. And now you have to boost things if you want them to be seen. Although I have one page that I don't know why. And I get crazy interaction on it. It's one of my older pages.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think there's something broken
Something
there, but
wrong with it.
I'm not going to tell Facebook about that. I just did, maybe. I don't know. But I think you have to kind of run a little bit of, testing on your people to
Right.
figure out, when they're active and, what they like and all that. But, obviously for me, we focus our company, and probably me too, visual things, photos, beautiful photos, video, any visual type media
Right.
is much more effective, I think, overall than just the words.
Right. What would you say kind of has a better engagement overall, video or photo?
Now with the way the video is automatically playing
Right.
in the feed, it tends to grab attention. So I think if you can, what we do, like on the Geeky Girls, we will have YouTube videos in our blog posts, but then we actually post the video itself so it will play, because if you post it for the YouTube link, it's not going to do that. So
Right.
we'll do that, and that helps, I think, get more views and more engagement.
Tell me about the Geeky Girls. How did you start that? What is it?
Yeah. It is, it's a way, I guess for me, it was giving back to the real estate world. We try to help agents through a lot of technology in the industry, teaching them just how to use it, what's cool out there, what's new, and what things have we used, and do we love it, do we hate it, did that kind of stuff. So it's the Geeky Girls. It's a blog where we've reviewed things for the industry. We talk about events in the industry. It's just kind of all about real estate with kind of a technology focus, maybe.
Sure.
And it started about, I guess it was about 5 years ago.
Okay.
I had a friend that was encouraging me, wanting me to blog. Like, you need to blog. And folks took that like 30-day blog challenge where you wrote a post every day, and I was like, I'm not doing that.
You're like, I need a full-time writer now.
Yeah. So
You're not doing any deals, but you're blogging.
yeah, I'll be doing that every day. But so I thought, well, I'm not doing that, but okay, I'll start the blog. And it just, that's kind of how it all began. And we actually said, okay, we're going to do the blog, got the domain, kind of figured that out. And I had a good friend that taught me a tremendous amount about the industry, Ben Kenny, who had a project that he was working on at the time, and they had created these T-shirts that said it was geeky was on the front, and some other friends of mine and I would wear these and attend a lot of events, and so we kind of became known as the Geeky Girls, and that's kind of where the name came from. And of course, I asked Ben, I said, we're going to kind of steal your branding here a little bit. And he was fine with it. And so that's kind of how it all happened. And then it kind of bloomed out of that. We decided, okay, we're going to do the blog. But then we got the Facebook page. And before we could ever even write a blog post or put any content on the page, we started getting likes, and there was nothing there to like.
Right.
So I'm like, I don't know what's going on here, but
It's that same malfunction before. It's
yeah.
just-
And so then we immediately started building out the Facebook page first, and kind of creating a little buzz and getting some, and then started writing the blog posts. And so we had kind of an audience, and we also are on Twitter. So we use the blog to put content out, but then drive folks to the blog from social media.
It's interesting that you talk about the Geeky Girls, because something that I've seen with a lot of agents, anytime I even say it, you just light up.
Oh, yeah.
So it's funny to me though, because there's so many agents with other passions, whether it be blogging or video, Facebook Live, whatever you're doing. Do you think that it's important for today's agent to have other things going on to drive more to their real estate business?
I mean, I think it helps.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, it's not, people want, real estate is a relationship-based business. We're all people. And how do you get clients? I think, and this is, I know this will come up later as we talk about, but your personal sphere, the people that you know, I mean, those are your core of how you're going to start your business. So, I think it's all about people getting to know you and like you, and we hear this all the time. Once they have to know you and like you and trust you before they're going to do business with you.
Right.
So I think the more that you can get out there in whatever it is that you love doing and that you have a passion about, then that's going to help create those relationships.
Sure.
That then will come back to you in real estate.
Sure. So being that you test out a lot of technology, what would you say is your favorite technology right now? I know that's a big ocean.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because I think over the last year, I don't know if it's one specific technology, but it's kind of, I feel like a lot of the real estate technology is starting to focus more on how to help agents target their sphere. I've seen a couple of different companies that are doing things, and I love that, because I feel like we've been reaching for these leads from these strangers out there on the internet for so long, and kind of maybe neglecting the people that most of us are getting most of our business from.
Right.
So I feel like if you're gonna spend money, then why don't you spend it on those people,
right.
and staying connected with those people and reaching out to them, because I've talked to a lot of agents across the country, and a lot of very successful agents, and more often than not, their business is coming from their sphere. It's coming from the people that they know, whatever that sphere might be, and everybody's is different, but I was kind of surprised at how many, the statistics show about 80% of your business is going to come from that.
Yeah. I've been finding that too. A lot of agents always come around and they're saying, well, how do I get this business? And I'm like, just, have you told your friends that you're in real estate?
Yeah.
Well, no. Like, well, you might want to try that. I don't know. Just people that you know, that you have relationships with, and then just getting that trust even from your friends, because just because you have a real estate license, as you know, that doesn't mean everyone's going to suddenly use you.
Oh, no.
So, I mean, there are many, many real estate agents out there.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And they forget. Even your family forgets. I had, I think it was my sister-in-law. They were, was going to buy a house, and I'm like, whoa. Here, I'll let me help you just a little bit here. I can help find you a great agent. Just don't go, wander around and, pick somebody off the street.
Yeah.
But they forget that that's what you do. And so that's kind of a constant battle, I think, for us, is helping people remember what we do. And again, I think another piece of that is we are really bad at verbalizing, our true value in the whole process. I think people look at us and think, well, I don't need the agent to help me find a house. There's so many tools out there now for consumers to be able to look at houses and find houses, so they don't really need us, and they're coming to us a little later in the process than maybe they did before. But
so with that said, what would you say, what's today's agent look like? Meaning people can go online, they can go to these sites, they look on Zillow, they look at realtor.com, they could find the home. That's not necessarily meaning that they're going to negotiate appropriately and understand comps and obviously the value of us. But what are you teaching people and telling agents to express why someone needs a realtor today?
Well, I think the real value that an agent brings to the transaction is their local knowledge, their knowledge of the market, because the portals, the big pieces that they're missing are the real local stuff, the condition of the property, the real location of the property that's going to make a difference in the value. So for me, the knowledge of that local market that the agent has is huge. Also, the transaction itself, it's not always easy. Rarely is it easy. There's always something that's going to happen along the way. Most people don't buy a home but every 7 years or so. So by the time they go through the process again, it's probably totally different than it was before. But the agent is involved in that every day. And they should be anyway. And so they know that how it works. They have the contacts that can help make a transaction go smoothly that might not otherwise go smoothly. And the funny part is, I was talking to somebody about this the other day, is that oftentimes the client doesn't know or can't appreciate what the agent did to make it go so well for them. They never knew a lot of the drama that was happening behind the scenes.
Right.
So they couldn't even appreciate that.
But that's the best agent, the one where the client doesn't know and feel that anything drama is happening.
Right.
So that I definitely know.
Exactly.
We've talked a lot about technology, but what would you say are more of the old school methods that you like? Whether it's, I feel like we're texting, we're emailing, we're on social media and internet marketing. The phone call, is that dead?
No, absolutely not. I think, especially, I think the phone calls, talking to people is huge.
Yeah.
Because again, this is a relationship-based business. I think communication is the number one thing that we need to be really focused on, because I think that's one of the biggest complaints the consumer has about us, is that we don't answer the phone. And I'll tell you a little secret about our office. We do not have an office phone. If the client is always going to talk to the agent. They're not going to call an admin. They're going to call the agent. They're going to talk to their agent. We don't want our administrative assistant having to deal with things that the agent is supposed to be dealing with.
Right.
So,
And an admin might not know answers, and then it just, that makes sense.
So we don't have an office phone. That does, that kind of was the way it's been since the beginning. And as we've grown, we kind of decided that this is the way we're going to do this. If your client's going to call you, and
what an idea.
But we have backup if somebody's out of town. That our agents support each other. But we had people that would complain, and other companies and things. I would hear the clients would call and leave messages, and nobody would call back, and so that's not going to happen.
That's insane.
And we answer our phone.
That's insane.
That was kind of one of the big lessons that I learned from, my partner Scott. When I first started working with him, was listening to him on the phone all the time. And when his phone rings, he answers it. Even if it's some wild 800 number that he doesn't even know what it is, answer the phone. Talk to the people.
Because you never know.
Yeah, you don't know.
Imagine how much business you can get by picking up your phone.
It's amazing. It really is.
Your first listing ever. How did that listing appointment go? How did you prepare for it? And what happened?
Yeah. Actually, it was a friend, more or less. It's kind of interesting. She won't mind me telling me this story. She was going through, it was actually a divorce situation. So they were listing the house, and I listed their home, and they both had moved out. So it was unoccupied. But, and it was actually pretty smooth in the beginning. And one day I showed up at the house to do a open house lunch, maybe it was a broker open house, and I went in to turn on the lights and no electricity. And I was like,
geez.
What's going on here, And
hopefully not in the summer.
yeah, no, I think it was fall. And I was like, hey, there's no electricity on, what's going on? And she was, oh, well, I was just trying to save some money, and so I turned it off. Well, lo and behold, kind of got down the line a little bit and found out it was becoming a financial burden, and the house was actually headed towards foreclosure. Yeah, this is my first listing.
Oh, jeez.
So suddenly it became a short sale. And so then I had to learn real quick how that was going to work, and actually I closed it was my first listing and my first short sale, and I did both sides. I ended up with both sides of that transaction.
Of course you did.
So that was a real learning experience. I learned a lot of different things from that listing, but it all turned out well, and worked out in the end. And as short sales go, it was probably a pretty easy one. But so that was interesting. But again, it was luckily the client. We had a good relationship, and she goes now back and tells people how, because she didn't even know you could do a short sale. She thought it was just going to have to, they were going to have it go to foreclosure. So,
and again, shows the value of an agent, just explaining everything. Would you say, because I know there's a lot of people out there that say don't mix business with pleasure and don't work with friends. So it's a bit of a catch-22, because your sphere are your friends, but then should you not work with friends? So what's that like? Yeah. Obviously, that was a bit of a different situation, but have you ever had issues with that?
Not really. And it's always kind of interested me when I teach. Well, I'll have agents say, well, especially like in social media, on Facebook, they don't want to mix their business with their family or friends or whatever. And I was like, well, why?
Right.
What are you hiding here? You are who
double life.
Right. Well, that's exactly it. And they'll say, well, I have a separate whole profile over here. And I'm like, well, first of all, that's against Facebook terms of use. So you really can't do that. There's one you. Now you need to learn how to separate it if you're going to separate it within the one profile. But, why?
Right.
You are who you are. But again, on social media, you have to be careful about overselling yourself, to your friends and family in that personal profile. Be you. It's not, don't be selling all of the time in social, but be who you are. But there's always ways to remind people about what you do.
Right. Laurie, you've been amazing. Thank you so much. Is there any last piece of advice for a new agent who's looking to get started, jump in, and get to where you are? What would be the best piece of advice? If you could say one thing.
One thing. I think if you're starting out in the business, probably the best thing you can do, you have to know your market. That's what's going to serve you the best, I think, down the line, is knowing your market and knowing it well, because that's going to set you apart. And being able to talk to people and show them that knowledge, that's why they're going to want to use you. So
awesome. Yeah. Could not agree more. Thank you again. Thanks for being here, and thank you for being on SamSpeaks.